We are live. It's Monday, March 16th. I got Carmine Bianco with us. Today is the first day of hopefully not many of our new show, Meet the Experts. We're going to bring on a different guest every single day. We're going to ask them questions. We're going to talk to them about stories. We're going to learn about them. And, of course, we're going to take questions from all of you guys. If you log in, I hope everybody's safe. So much stuff in the news. How are you, Carmine?
I'm doing well, man. Obviously, I think you mentioned it here north of the border. I know a lot of the guys are in the U.S. who are watching this, but we just had a press conference here in Ontario by our premier here, and they really didn't do what they should be doing here in Toronto. I'm north of Toronto, but businesses are still open. I think they're relying on people to follow the social distancing thing. Restaurants are staying open, but I don't think this really helps. They're passing the legislation, and I know this isn't supposed to be a political show, but I'll make it quick. They're passing legislation where people who stay home because they can't work or need to take care of their kids because all schools are closed will not lose their jobs. They should have gone one step further and told employers to allow their employees to work from home if they can, or give them the time off with pay. It's going to be a tremendous hit to our economy, but this is a disease that is worldwide and is killing tens of thousands of people. They've got to get on this. I think we're a little late to it now, unfortunately, but it's not a great time. And obviously, from a sports aspect of it, which isn't the most important thing right now, I would believe they've taken the approach of shutting everything down to protect players, fans, and employees.
Okay, well, Carmine Bianco is with us from WagerTalk.com. If he is slightly boring today, that's just one. That's his thing, right, Carm?
No, it's. We're like yin and yang. We're like chalk and cheese. It's one of those things. We're like oil and vinegar. We tend to get on each other's nerves, but we're very good friends. And I'm sure through the next 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to get on each other's nerves more than once. So let's do this, guy.
Hey, everybody, thanks for logging in. Andrew, Elliott, One Shot, Zekin, Sodom Fine, and, of course, the most wonderful woman in the world, Vivian, and you can find her at Prezman. Did you see her tweet today, Carm? I mean, it was a really, really great tweet by Vivian. It was funny as hell.
No, I missed it. I was watching that press conference. What did Viv say?
Well, just log on and check out her tweet. Hey, Abel. Hey, Anthony. Welcome aboard. So the show is Meet the Experts. Every day we're going to have different experts on. Tomorrow is Kelly Stewart and Minty. And then Wednesday, we're going to have my partners in crime, Johnny and Rick. Johnny, who runs the operations for WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Rick, who's the CEO of WagerTalk Media. Thursday will be Marco D'Angelo, my original partner, co-founder of WagerTalk.com. And Friday will be an absolute legend in this space, Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet. Hey, Vlog, what's up, brother? Nice to see you logging on. Carm, what we're going to do today is first I want to talk about the new setup. As everybody could see, we have a new setup. Expect this type of setup for puck time and first pitch as well when sports comes back. We've got a lot of funky things coming as far as the setup goes. We have some breathing room now to make everything better, and we will. But Wager Talk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet are going nowhere. We're going to get through this, and we hope sports are back soon. Hey, Admin Aaron. The over and under of Carm saying, listen, 1.5 at -700. What do you think, Carm?
Listen, man, it's probably going to be a little harder.
Yeah, it is. You've already at 1. Okay, dude, let's get into it, man. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. You're going to
let's do this.
You're going to answer them, and then we're going to take throughout the show. We'll take questions from the Viewers. Okay, well, let's start off with firstly, you are 51 years old, correct?
That is correct.
You look 60, but you look like a good-looking, healthy 60.
I feel 40. Listen, I've challenged you, old man, because you're in your 50s too. I've challenged you to tennis, and you won't take me on. I don't get it.
Yeah, because I don't play tennis, Carm. Why don't you challenge me for like downhill skiing or something?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm 51. I'm not gliding down some ice. Let me tell you, I've never gone skiing. I went snowboarding once. A bunch of my friends were going. This was about 4 or 5 years ago, and let me tell you, I must have weak ankles, which is probably why I don't skate either. I flipped out so many times on that snowboard going down the hill up at in Collingwood that I finally made it down without falling. And then my buddy says to me, he goes, "We're done with the bunny hills. Let's head up to the real one." And I'm telling you, I thought I was going to break a bone. It wasn't until a kid who was probably 5 or 6 years old goes zipping down me as I'm lying on my ass, and he's zipping down on a snowboard, where I said to the guys, "I'm done." I literally took the thing off. I glided to the bottom. I went back to the chalet, and I just I watched TV and drank some sports.
Hey,
and drank some booze.
Yeah, well, I can snowboard and I can ski. And hey, Mr. Detroit, thanks for logging on. My picture is more from 2002, not 1992, but I will change it. And vlog, Carmine is a cutie. I thought I was, man. Like last week it was about me. Now it's about Carm. Okay. Hey, Missy, what's going on? Carm, when did you start?
Missy is one of my favorite people.
Yeah, Missy's the best.
At WagerTalk, 100%. What she does for us and making us look good when we much of the time look bad, not sports picking wise, but just, in how we do things. She's just absolutely fantastic. Prez, give her a raise.
Give her a raise in the middle of this situation? Okay, Carm, let's get into it, brother. Let's start with question number one. Fred, Dave just couldn't make the show today. He will be on. I've rescheduled him. Carm jumped in at last minute. Carm, you're 51 years old. When did you start gambling, and why did you start gambling?
It's one of those things. I think, given the age, you have to think about, back in the, let's call it the early 80s. You go to school, guys have football cards. You've seen Johnny Detroit post those football cards every once in a while on Twitter. And it's one of those things. You like sports, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I can bet on this stuff. And, it went from guys bringing those football cards to the coffee truck drivers having football cards. Everyone was into these football cards. The odds were horrible. They're absolutely brutal. Anyone who's playing like parlays, where you're only getting 3-team parlays, you're only getting like 5-to-1 odds on your money. They were brutal, but it was one of those things where you could put $5 or $10 down. You didn't eat lunch for a couple of days, and you gambled it on football, and you hope to hit a 3-team parlay and stuff. And from that, it sort of it's sort of built that. We had a lot of family that lived within a small community in Little Italy, we'll call it, in Toronto. I went by a Saturday. I went by my cousin's place, and he's washing his car, and he says to me, he's going to the racetrack. This is a Woodbine racetrack. So I'm like, he invites me. I'm like, sure, I'll go along. We sat in the bar. We didn't even watch racing live. We sat in the bar inside the track, and I bet 9 races. I won 6 of them, and I left with less money than I came with, because we're drinking Labatt's Blue back then in those stubby bottles or what have you. And it was, but the thing is, winning the bet is what hooks you.
Yeah.
It hooks everybody. You win, you feel on top of the world. I'm the best at this. I'm great. I went 4-0. And then next week you go 0-7, and you're looking for more money to bet the following week. It's what it is. So that's what kind of hooked me into it.
Yeah, it's funny. I always tell guys entering sports betting for the first time, the best thing that can happen is they lose early. You enter this sport, you go on a run at the beginning, and you are hooked. It's like chasing the dragon, man. Nothing is better than losing early. And Carm, I lost betting. I mean, obviously I had good days and good weeks along the way, but it took me about 3 years to figure it out, dude, to figure out the mistakes that I was making and how to become a winner. You actually used to be on a show in Toronto. Do you want as the Big Ragu? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, obviously with a name like Carmine, anyone who's watched Laverne and Shirley, Shots Brewery, there was a guy on there, Carmine Raguso, and they called him the Big Ragu on the show. So my friends in high school and grade school and high school nicknamed me the Big Ragu. So I went to work for the Fan 590 here in Toronto, and I did a Sunday morning football show. This is back in the day of, again, there wasn't a lot of internet social media, of course, at the time. It was all 900 numbers. Bowman Sports, Prez, if you remember Bowman Sports. And Bowman Sports was one of the sponsors of the show, and I worked with a guy called Cash Palmer. I've lost contact with him. Cash
so is everybody.
He kind of hit hard times. There's a lot of stories you can read about him, but we won't get into that. But Cash had a 900 number. I worked. We did this show together. We would interview, different reporters from teams throughout the U.S., NFL teams. Joe Lupo, who ran the sports book at Stardust. He's now at the Borgata in Atlantic City. But Joe was great. He came on. He told us from the other side of the counter where the action was, who people were betting. He gave us a lot of information, which was great for the show. From there, I did a lot of coverage of our CFL team, Toronto Argos. You know the one great thing of working at the Fan 590 Press?
No.
Was they gave you a press pass. You know the great thing about the press pass is you could literally get in anywhere as long as you called ahead of time. You told them, Carmine from Fan 590. They put your name on a list. I went to Buffalo, being a Sabres fan, and watched every single Sabres practice when they played the Flyers in the playoffs. That might have been the last time they made the playoffs, I think. And every single game, I'd sit in the press box, I'd eat their food and watch the game, and every once in a while report on things. But I love my time there.
Hey, Danny, thanks for the nice words. Chris Allen, the Big Ragu is, you know what? I think it's a great name. I actually wanted Carm to use that name again, but you didn't want to do that, right?
No, we all have times in our past that we just figure we'll leave it there and we evolve and move on.
Guys, what do you think of the setup? I couldn't decide whether to use a red or a blue background. Carm, what are your biggest wins or losses? Like, over 20 years or so of betting, I mean, any win or loss that stands out at you? There's a bunch of wins, but it's the losses we remember. It's just like, listen, you're a poker player, Prez. You love poker. Every poker player remembers their losses. They never remember their wins. They're like, I can't believe I lost with aces. Can't believe I lost with kings. They don't remember when they cracked aces or kings. But there is one wager that I remember losing very early on in my betting career that has stuck with me. And I remember most of the particulars of it. And this is going back a long time, again, before the internet, before databases, before, sites or TV programs that shared information where you could learn things. You basically relied on publications. I remember there's a store that was near me. It was called M&G Variety, and it was like 3 or 4 blocks away. And every Thursday they came out with a publication, College Football Weekly, and then they had NFL Football Weekly. And ironically, they had the gold sheet, but they only brought in 2 or 3 of them. So you had to get there early to buy them. Every Thursday morning, walked over there, picked them up. And I remember opening up, and I came across a game, and I'll get to it in one of the later things we discuss. But it was Green Bay playing Philadelphia, and Green Bay is a 2.5-point favorite. And my brother and I, at the time, my youngest brother, we both bet on the game. We bet probably more money than we should have ever bet on a game. And Philly led
the whole game. Of course, Green Bay makes a comeback in the fourth quarter. Green Bay's down 4 points, laying 2.5. Go down the field with less than 2 minutes left, score the game-winning touchdown, and then miss the extra point. And it was, back then, you didn't understand what a bad beat was. You didn't. But that extra point, and they won by 2 because they never got the ball back, and it was literally game over, was what would become the first of many bad beats throughout our lives as sports gamblers. But it's the one that stuck with me because, my God, all I remember is the joy of celebrating when they scored that touchdown, and I'm jumping up and down in front of the TV. And then the kicker, some little 120-pound punk who shouldn't even be out there. Kickers, we don't even need kickers in this game. Shanks one wide left, not the Bills wide right, but wide left. And I was just in absolute shock because I had already spent the money in my head.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems we have. Thanks for the nice words, Anthony. By the way, Anthony, take they don't at plus 140. Anthony posted odds of the season starting up in April 15th, minus 120. I don't even know what season or what sport you're talking about, but no sports are going to be started April 15th. It's going to be a couple of months, guys. And we're going to just log on here every day, 1 o'clock. We're going to talk. We're going to have some fun. If anybody's got questions, please ask. Carm, I don't really remember specifically any major loss that I had that just upset me. I mean, there's so many over the years. I mean, I could tell you about losses last week that pissed me off. But thank God I'm way past that. Any tips, 2 or 3 of the most important things that you could tell sports bettors so that they can at least keep their bankroll intact?
The good thing about I think this show, and as people continue to watch the programs, and especially when you get guys like Marco on it, Dave Koken, Teddy, they're going to tell you, they're going to give you a lot of info, and it might be repetitive, but one of the biggest things is we now live in an age, let's say, sorry if I'm stuttering here. We live in an age where there is a lot of information available to us, a lot more information than was available back when we were betting. Back when we were betting, as you said, Prez, we made a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of times where nobody knew what bankroll management was back then. Back then it was, oh, I really love this game, or I need to get out. I'm putting it all on Monday Night Football. Those were disasters because ultimately you ended up losing your money. Nobody is lucky enough with the lack of information that was out there to continuously win and win with success. So it's one of those things where you're going to make mistakes along the way. If you don't learn from those mistakes, you're going to continue to make those mistakes. You're going to continue to lose money. Losing money early on in your betting career is only a bad thing if you haven't learned from it. Learn bankroll management. There's databases out there. Ralph Michaels, if you don't follow him on Twitter, you need to be following him on Twitter. He posts a lot of valuable information. Guys put this information out from sites that are out there. Learn to use them. Learn, pick your own system, work on it, refine it. You make mistakes, you readjust it, and you keep going until you start to eke out that profit and make money. But don't get discouraged if you're losing, but get discouraged if you're not learning from your mistakes. I know this sounds almost like a canned response. I'm not trying to give that type of a thing, but you've got to learn. You've got to learn bankroll management. If you're betting because you need the money, you're betting for the wrong reason.
We're gonna
bet because you enjoy the sport.
We're gonna discuss bankroll management throughout the next few weeks. It's probably the most important thing to do in sports betting. Just to really go down and take a look at some of the questions. Vlog, I don't know who Clint McLean is. Do we do UFC bets? Yeah, damn right. We got 2 guys, Kyle Anthony and Gianni the Greek, and they are unbelievable at it. Gianni actually does work for the UFC, and I said Rick and Johnny will be on Wednesday's show. That's actually Wednesday next week because I've done 2 weeks of scheduling. Gianni will be with us on Wednesday's show, and we're going to talk UFC a lot. And Kyle Anthony is ridiculous. I mean, he's been with us for a couple of years now, and he literally has about an 80% winning average at UFC. Guys, there's really no sport other than maybe dog racing or, high lie or whatnot that we don't have an expert who's really good at. So stay inside of the WagerTalk family, everybody. We do these shows every day. We do them live. I'm always happy to help out. And of course, I don't know if you guys saw the video by Vegas Dave over the weekend, and there was an article written about him in the New York Post. If any of you really feel the urge to lose some money, Vegas Dave will be providing picks on Uno. And I think the spelling bee contest, oh my God. I mean, like, it's just wrong to take advantage of people anytime. It is disgusting to do it at this time.
Yeah.
Bankroll management. I mean, people ask us all the time. We sell our picks, and one of the guys up there wrote, how much do I need to start sports betting? Honestly, $100, $20. The concept is always about a return on investment, not about how much money you can make. If you have $100,000 extra, you usually put it in mutual funds or you put it into the stock market. Over the last 6 years, you'd be very happy with about a 12% return on investment every year. Right now, you're in about a minus 30% investment for 2020, but that'll change. But you honestly look at this thing like, if I start with $100, can I get 100% return every year? Can I get 50% return every year? The concept is, make the sports you're watching more enjoyable, more fun, more dramatic by betting on them. Do it with money you can't afford. Do it with money you can afford to lose, and play smart. We release our plays as a 3%, 4%, and 5%. People ask us all the time. Your competitors release units and stars, 10-star, 20-unit play. That is meaningless to us. What the hell is a 10-star play or a 10-unit play? We literally tell you guys exactly what to bet. Bet 3% of your bankroll, 4% of your bankroll, and 5% of your bankroll. And so everybody understands how this works. If you bet a percentage of your bankroll and you start with $100 and you bet 4% of your bankroll. So that's, let's go with, you start with $1,000 and you bet 4% of your bankroll. That's $40. The next day you win, you're betting $44 and so on and so forth. And you increase your bankroll accordingly. The reason you do that is because of exponential growth. If you win 10 games in a row betting a percentage of your bankroll, you actually win 11 games in a row because the concept is you're betting more each game. Conversely, if you lose 10 games in a row, you're betting less each game, so you actually are losing 9 games in a row. That's how you do it. You take advantage of exponential growth as you are on a run, and you take advantage of the opposite of exponential growth, I don't know the word, when you're losing. And that's why we release our plays as a percentage of bankroll. Carmine, dude, did you play any sports when you grew up?
Sure did. I think this is why I keep challenging you at tennis. But yeah, back in high school and university, it started with tennis and soccer. I played them both at high school and university level. I did play baseball in high school. It was softball back then. It wasn't hardball or fastball. I tried football. Actually, I wrestled as well too. I tried football. Didn't do very well at it. So I gave that one up very quickly. And I don't play. While I play hockey, I played ball hockey. I think we talked about those stories.
Yeah, in Canada, ball hockey is not hockey.
Ball hockey, for those who don't know, is it's still played in an arena. It's not played in a schoolyard, Prez. It's played in And you have to be, arguably, Prez, you have to be in better shape playing ball hockey than you do playing ice hockey.
Like pear-shaped?
Yes, pear-shaped, whatever. I would love to as a forward, come down on if you're playing defense. Oh man, you wouldn't stand a chance. Not a chance.
Vivian challenged you to a tennis match that she wants to put a wager on. I just want to let Vivian and you know. I'm not bankrolling that one. I feel like you'll beat her. But Vivian's really good at tennis, and she wears these short skirts. Okay, I got to calm down. Let's move on. So you're a tennis player.
I've seen her Facebook picture where she's taking a swing at a tennis ball or what have you. But Viv, you know what? Bring it on. I have no problem with it.
Vlog. We're not going to talk about our 3 favorite sports books. We're not here to promote sports books at all. Carmine Bianco, you have an awesome story about the first time your first interaction with a sports handicapper, Jeff Allen. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of him. Regale us, my friend.
Yeah, this goes back to that original football game that I talked about, the Green Bay Philadelphia one. So, as I said, I went to that store. I picked up the program from M&G Variety. I head home. I'm reading through all the game previews and what have you. And then I see this ad for Jeff Allen. And it's funny that you just talked about stars, because it's like Jeff Allen has a 300-star lock for Sunday. And all I remember back then, I didn't know what I know now. So I'm like, wow, this guy must know it. So I call the 800 number. I asked my brother if he wants to split the fee on it or whatever. So I call the number. They take some information, call me back, and it's Jeff Allen. And he gives you the spiel, literally like almost like the Vegas Dave thing where a snake oil salesman is trying to sell you stuff. He gave me the spiel, and it's like, this game cannot lose. It's going to win. It's going to cover. It's going to win by 30 points. Just send me $300 by Western Union. Call me when you have the tracking number. So, of course, I fell for it back then as a kid.
How much did you Western Union him?
$300.
Oh, my God, Carmine. What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, exactly. But this is what I'm saying. Back then, when you first started betting, you didn't know. You didn't know better. It was one of the stupidest things you could ever do. These guys were snake oil salesmen. So the game he gives me is Green Bay minus 2.5 over Philadelphia. And my brother and I bet way too much money on that game. Obviously, if you're sending 3, you're betting a hell of a lot more than 3. And we lost that game. And then we get calls back during the week. And it's like, listen, man, we're going to make it up to you. We have a 500 unit play going next Sunday. And this is why these unit plays that these guys give stars make no sense, because at the end of the year, they can always say they're up, because once they've lost 50,000 units, then they release a 60,000 unit play, which is going to get you out. The bankroll management that WagerTalk has at 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, the 2% ones are for clients only, is one of the smartest things they could possibly do. It protects your bankroll if you follow what they're telling you to do and play just a percentage of your bankroll. Again, it's one of the smartest things you can possibly do, and just continue to do it. And I'm going to talk about the handicappers of years past. Listen, I told you about when I worked at the radio station, and the guy I worked with, Cash Palmer, had a 900 number. Now, these 900 numbers were $5 a minute, $10, maximum $50. So the call was 10 minutes, no matter what. And if you ever seen the Homer Simpson episode where he calls into the 900 number and he wants the pick, and the recording is today, and it's a long-winded. We must factor in the weather, and
it's
it
3 degrees. No, it went up to 4. No, down to 2. We will keep the degree live as we rack up your phone bill.
So, which is exactly what it was. So, he would record his plays on Sunday morning. Now, I would be in there early doing some research, and I would sit and talk with a good friend of mine who, if you're Canadian, you know him. He was a host at Hockey Night in Canada for the longest time, for a short while. George
Yes.
Stroumboulopoulos. He worked at 590. He did a show just before mine. We would sit there and we just chat about everything, music and what have you. Anyways, I remember going to the bathroom once, and no, it's not going to get graphic. And in the other stall is Cash Palmer, and he says to me, "Who do you like today?" And I told him like my two games, and he's got the Toronto Star open. He's sitting on the toilet and he's recording his plays, and he hasn't done any studying. He's literally picking games out of the air, and he's recording them on this 10-minute call that people are going to pay $50 for, thinking they're getting an expert's picks, when in essence it's a guy who's dropping a load in a bathroom and reading the Toronto Star sports section. Absolutely ridiculous. And this is why things have, I believe, have changed for the better now. If you do enough research and you find a company like WagerTalk, who there is 100% transparency. We don't tell you, hey, I'm 30-1 my last 31 picks, when you can clearly see on our Handicappers page that we've gone 5-15, let's say, our last 20. So there is no BS.
Yeah, and a lot has changed. And guys, Gianni and I on Wednesday are going to actually talk a lot about this. We're going to explain mathematically how this industry started and how it was scamming everybody and why it's gotten such a bad rap. And we're also going to talk about a lot of the changes. And, Carm, I don't know if you're reading the comments, but Billy Pisa says that I'm an arrogant asshole. And, I'll take that because it's a lot better than being a complete moron who takes time out of your day to log on to watch an arrogant asshole, don't you think?
No, you know what, guys? I know a lot of guys who watch these shows for the first time, or you eventually get to know Prez. I've known Prez for a long time. He has, and this is what makes the show, because if I don't bring the energy level that the Prez does, he needs to bring even more energy level to keep you guys watching. He is not like this in real life. He has a sarcastic twist to him, and I think Johnny Detroit will tell you that as well too. These guys will go at it, but he is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, because he looks after his friends. He helps look after his employees. He looks after his family. He's top of the line kind of guy. The one thing you don't want to do is sit at breakfast with this guy. We were in Montreal. I'm going to tell this story, Prez, even though you might not want me to tell me. And we're at Playground Poker, which is the nicest poker room in all of Canada and probably in all of North America. It's fantastic. And we're sitting in the restaurant having breakfast before a tournament, and Prez orders his food. And this is how Prez orders his breakfast. I want 3 eggs. I want them over medium. I don't want them runny. If the white stuff is runny, you're sending it back. Now, I want my toast. Okay, I want it buttered. Make sure there's enough butter on it. Now, the pancake that comes with it, I do not want the pancake right away. What I'm going to do is, when I'm 3/4 of the way through my food, I'm going to look at you, motion you, and you can then tell the cook to get my pancake ready. I want it arriving here warm enough. And this is Prez ordering breakfast. And all I'm thinking is, my God, they're going to spit in my food.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, Carm, I'm a pain in the ass when it comes to ordering. Absolutely a true story. And thanks, Johnny. I love you, Johnny. Anthony M. just told us DeAndre Hopkins just got traded. Guys, every show we do this week and next week is going to be very different. Some of the guests are going to be extremely exciting and concise. Others are going to be extremely boring and long-winded. You can decide who is who. We started the show with the more long-winded guest, Carmine, but we love Carmine. I was with him on Friday night. We played poker together. Dude got tanked. I mean, what, you down half a bottle of Macallan 12?
Yeah. My friend Mark brought a bottle of Macallan 12 unopened, and it must have helped my poker game because I finished third in the tournament. But yeah, we actually finished the whole bottle. I have to say something. I have to say, because Johnny is making me laugh like crazy. Johnny Detroit just reminded me of something. I was in Vegas, and this was the first time I met the WagerTalk family, and we're at the Voodoo Lounge restaurant. and we're having dinner. And Kelly and I, which is great. Oh my God, I love Kelly. We're ordering bottles of wine. Her and I, we're the only ones really drinking them. And we ordered like the charcuterie plate, and we're ordering our food. And then our main courses arrive, and thankfully they brought our food first. The Prez is sitting at the end of the table, like the Godfather or what have you. He gets his steak, and he cuts into his steak, and apparently it's not hot enough for him.
No, it was like blue, dude. I ordered my steak medium rare. It was blue.
He's looking for the waitress. The waitress is not there. He's getting more and more angry as we go. And then all of a sudden, the Prez gets up with his plate, and he walks straight into the kitchen, and he's like, guys, I can't eat this stuff. And I'm like, oh God, thank God we got our food first. Like I don't even know why you would even eat a steak that comes out after you've gone into the kitchen and berated the kitchen staff about your steak.
I did that. I did that with my kids too at a Chinese restaurant. I just walked right into the kitchen and complained directly to the chef. Carmine Bianco with us from WagerTalk.com. We do the show every single... Yes, Johnny, that was a true story. As you know, you were there. We do this show every day at 1 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow is going to be Kelly Stewart and Minty Betts. We're going to talk about how they got into this industry. And we're really going to spend a lot of time talking about how to bet and answering your guys' questions if you have. Real quick, one of the guys up there, said, some tips for betting. And, we're going to delve very deep into this topic over the next few weeks. But, the long story short, don't do parlays. Don't bet more than 5% of your bankroll. Be extremely patient. Don't bet on a date. That's very important, guys. So many people are stuck betting with local bookies where at the end of the week they either have to pay up or they get paid. And as a result, they are doing different things on Sunday than they would have done on Friday or Thursday because they're either trying to get paid or they're trying to increase their pay. There's no date to betting. Get out of that type of environment where you are chasing on a Sunday or doubling on a Sunday because Monday is payday. But we're going to get into all of that stuff. Sports betting is really hard, but it's really fun. And if you do it correctly, you will win money. But the concept is always, and it's the same with playing poker, this is not about winning money. This is about avoiding losses. And if you avoid losses, if you have the ability to fold your hands in poker, the wins will come. Just be patient. Carmine Bianco, quickly, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, it's actually funny. You're talking about don't bet on dates and stuff like that. I remember like back in the day when they had score phones and you're trying to find a score and stuff. It was actually even worse. They came out with this little device that was connected to the internet. And it was called Data Sport. And it came with like the longest antenna you've ever seen. And I remember I'm with some friends and we're at a funeral for one of my friends. His dad had passed away. And the guy 2 seats over from me sparks out this at the church, this Data Sport on a Saturday. And he's like lifting the antenna on this thing and pokes the guy in front of him because he needs to see this college scores for college football. It was one of the weirdest things, and it just shows you the level of degeneracy that is out there at times. But that's one thing I wanted to add.
Hey, making moves. He knows a parlay loophole trick. He's probably the only person in the world that knows this parlay loophole trick. So please feel free to share it with us. But I can tell you flat out, parlays are the single worst thing anyone can do in sports betting. They just don't pay true odds at all. We've been through this so many times. A 3-team parlay at -110 pays 6-1. It should pay 8-1. And on. A 3-team parlay actually pays the closest to true odds out of any parlay. A 2-team parlay at -110 pays 2.6-1, and it should pay 4-1. And Abel, look, round robins are the same thing as parlays. Like, it might have a different name, but all it is 4 parlays if you're doing 3s and 4s in a 4-team round robin. there's no difference between a round robin or a parlay. And I would say round robins are actually stupider than parlays because there are more. And the more parlays you make, the worse it is. It is a mathematical fact that you will lose your money making parlays. Teasers, Andrew, I don't really, you know what, teasers, I'm okay with to a degree. There's tricks in playing teasers, and that's something I'd like to talk to Marco about on Thursday. Live betting, Abel, we love live betting. Carmine and I are really good at live betting. And we have given advice many times on the show for live betting. You know, each sport is very different with live betting. I actually find hockey to be the best with live betting because you have teams like Washington, Boston, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, teams that just literally go out there and win game in and game out. And, you know, they get down 2-0 in the first, and now all of a sudden they're plus 140 to win the game. And they do win those games, and we've actually seen that over the last few weeks as well. So yeah, live betting, you know, I'm and the other thing with live betting are the over and unders because, you know, you'll go into the third period 2-1 with the you know, over and under now at 4.5. Those are good bets, Carm.
Yeah, I'll give you credit. I don't want to blow up your head, but you are a very good in-game bettor. You know, I'm going to get to something in a second, but, you know, I remember you sending me definitely just in this NFL playoff season, Kansas City. I'm not sure which one of their games.
All of them. I live bet them the whole way through the playoffs. Houston and
the minute they went down, I think it was 10-0. They were, or no, they went down 17-0, I believe it was, and they were plus 6.5. And you sent me a message, and you're like, if you don't get on plus 6.5 right now in Kansas City, you got to quit betting. And of course, I got down on that bet plus 6.5, and I think they obviously they went on to win that game, but they literally scored pretty quick after that. And your point in that game was, which made complete sense, was, you know, 14 of those points were off turnovers. Turnovers are specialty teams, so it was one of those things where you knew they were going to get back in it, and plus 6.5 was really was a gift there. So I'll give you credit there. As far as live wagering, I'm going to be doing, and this is obviously dependent on what's going on in the world right now, and hopefully it does get better. You know, the Euro 2020s, they're talking about canceling them. So whether it's the Euro 2020s or another competition, if they're still on this summer or delayed at some point, I will be doing a live betting show during it. And yes, Lawrence, before you even say it, live betting shows for soccer do actually work because
they work the best because it doesn't change every 1 second.
Nothing changes. Not every 1 second, but it essentially it's an analytical thing with sports books or an algorithm where every 10 minutes there is a change in the odds, and it's obviously dependent on the scores. So if you've ever watched any of the soccer lines moving from, you know, the 10-minute, 20-minute mark, and you're like, why did it drop, you know, 18 cents or 20 cents? There's money to be made in-game betting. So it's something that I'll do if there's enough interest when the time comes.
Vlog, listen, you are an excitable person. That is for sure. You right, Vivian does parlays. Why do you say not to do them? Look, it's not about not doing them. And I think Vivian really answered it best. We understand over at WagerTalk that people are going to do parlays. They're never going to stop. What we're saying to you guys is have fun with the parlays. You know, when we give out Vivian's parlays and when we give out parlays on the show, and look, Carm and I do the occasional parlay. Actually, Carm does a lot of parlays, let's be honest here. But we're doing them for very small money. If you're betting $100 on a play, we're telling you to do a $10 parlay. We're telling you to scratch your itch, but your money will be made on the straight bets. Carm, you do parlays. I mean, I was with you on Friday night. You did a 3-team $50 parlay to win $1,800 on 3 soccer teams on the draw. You cashed the first two $50 bet, and Bet365 gave you a $700 cash out, which you took.
Yeah, it was slightly lower in the sense of it was 50 to win $1,530. And the first two games were over. They finished in draws. It was a 3-draw one. And the first two came in, and they offered me just a little over $800. Yeah. And I was like, at this point, the scotch was flowing freely. And I'm like,
it was.
I'm not going to be able to make the proper judgment later on whether to cash out or not. So I'm going to take it now. And I took it. And I never worry about leaving money on the table with cashing out a wager. It's the same way as with my when I'm betting futures. I'll never bet futures that are low odds. I will always bet futures that for teams that I believe have a chance to make a deep run in any sport, I will bet them at 10 to 1 or higher. And the reason is this, is if they do make it into the semifinal, quarterfinals, semifinals of any competition, you can then hedge out that wager and ensure yourself a profit. You're not going to get 10 to 1 anymore, but you're going to hedge out a profit. Listen, I'm the biggest, as Prez said, knows, Juventus fan. A couple years ago, and they're in the Champions League final against Real Madrid, and I had futures that returned a little over $15,000. And I took to Twitter because I know there's a lot of guys on there that are very good at hedging and put the word out of what my exposure was so far, what I could win. And Real Madrid to lift the trophy, which meant 90 minutes, any extra time, any penalty kicks, as long as they win, lift the trophy. The odds were minus 106. Perfect odds to hedge out my bet. And I bet enough to guarantee close to a $7,000 profit. And although I watched the game and cheered for Juventus, they eventually lost the game 4-1. It wasn't that guy who was pissed for two reasons. Number one, they lost, and number one, that I let it ride.
Yeah.
My bank account showed $7K more, and this is what it's all about. It's about making money, guys. Put your allegiance to teams aside. You know what I mean? And the NHL, there's
when was the last time you bet against Juventus?
I bet against them twice this year. Thinking both times they were going to lose, and they won both games. So one it was against Napoli, where I was certain they would lose to Napoli, and Napoli beat them. And then earlier in the year, I think I can't remember the game. I bet Inter because they're another good team in the league this year, and I thought Inter would beat them or at least finish in a draw, and Juve was favored by half a goal, and I took Inter, and Juve won that game as well too. So I look at it this way. Teams are, as Kelly says, A's and B's. They're numbers. Bet numbers, not team names. Bottom line, this is what you're supposed to do.
And we got Kelly with us tomorrow, everybody. Guys, I want to call the show in a few minutes. I do want to let everyone know we're going to be, it's a different guest every day. Tomorrow is Kelly and Minty. Wednesday's show is going to be ridiculously fun. The most energetic, knowledgeable expert around, Gianni the Greek. Danny Yu writes, I stagger my parlays time-wise. And you know what, Danny? Look, I do parlays too. Very, very small amount of money. But any parlay I do, I stagger as well. And one of the things I do, and we'll talk about it throughout the next couple of weeks, is when NFL season and hockey season are on at the same time, which is, some of October, November, December, January, and Vivian can tell you this to be true because she looks at me like I'm nuts. I take a 3-team or 4-team parlay every single night where I take 2 puck lines and I hook it up to an NFL game. But I'm making literally like a $10 bet to win $400 on a 3 or 4 teamer. Now, I do it every night, but that stuff is all for fun. It was like live betting for, as for making moves, if you want to get hold of me privately, just email support@wagertalk.com and the wonderful Missy will pass it on to me. Guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining us. The next couple of weeks are going to be fun shows. I'm obviously And we at WagerTalk Sports Member on the Gold Sheet are obviously upset about what's going on in the world. Our problems are so small compared to a lot of the problems everybody else has. Carmine and I have friends now that are in quarantine. I've got family flying back from Switzerland today. I got my daughters flying back from New York today. There's a lot of bigger and more important things in this world than sports and sports betting. And we are not going to wallow. We're going to listen to the experts and do what they say. We're going to try stay away from public places. If everybody can stay indoors for 21 days, this coronavirus is over. I know that's not going to happen, but if everybody can just please do their part, we can get this thing over and done with and get back onto our lives. I cannot thank you all enough for logging in. Tomorrow's show, Kelly and Minty. Wednesday, Gianni the Greek. And we will continue to answer questions. What prop bets like that have the best value in your estimation? We're going to have Andrew McGinnis on next week, where we'll do a lot of prop bet speaking. I don't bet a lot of props, but we'll bring that up, Kane, throughout the week. Carm, thanks for coming on with incredibly short notice, my friend.
All good. I'm glad that I was able to answer a few questions, give some people some stories and stuff, and thankfully you didn't ask me that question on how I became a Sabres fan. So
yeah, I don't really, you said ask me why you became a Sabres fan, and frankly, Carm, I don't care.
You don't care. Yeah. I know.
I mean, if you want to cheer for a team who plays for another city in another country, well, that's your business, dude. I mean, you're always contrary to everything that everybody else does. All you're trying to do is cause shit amongst your friends, and I'm not taking the bait.
Listen, I cheer for practically every NHL team. I'm a fan of practically every NHL team, not all of them. By the way, today is 19,312 days since the Leafs last won a cup.
Today is 7,006,000,000,000,000,000 days since the Buffalo Sabres have won a cup. It is also 6 quintuple bazillion since Buffalo has won anything, but it is only an hour since there has been a fire in Tonawanda. And anybody who lives in Toronto will understand that joke. Carmine, I love you, bro. Be safe. Everybody else, be safe. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, with Kelly Stewart and Minty Betts. Be well, and thank you so much for logging in to Meet the Experts.